Hello and welcome to another tutorial from OICT. In this tutorial, we're going to be making a media player using Windows Form and C# programming. Let's just take a look at this media player. So I'm just going to click start on this project. Okay, so basically this media player is designed to open up any video files that you have saved inside of a folder. So recently I've been backing up my phone, and one of the things that I noticed that was quite annoying is that I had to open each individual video, and this kind of created opportunity for me to think about a creative way to create a little app that sort of just scans through the folder and find any video files that you have predetermined to load up, and then it loads it up into a list box, and then from there it just auto plays all the videos one by one, so that way you don't have to individually go and open them. So let's just take a look at how this one works for now. There's two buttons here. One is about, and when you click on about, it just gives you a little bit of information, and then you click OK, that goes away. And when you click on open folder, it gives you a browse for folder, a dialog box, and then you can just browse to the folder where your videos are saved. So I have the videos saved inside the videos folder. However, if there are no videos in that folder, so say for example, if I pick this folder here, that's called code, and click OK, it tells me that no video files were found in this folder, and then obviously it doesn't do anything. So if I go and pick a folder that has got video files in it, then it will just load up those video files and start playing them. So inside of this folder, I have 4 different video files. So I have the AVI, MP4, WM, and a WMV file. Right. So if you look at the inside of this folder, we also have, moved over here for now. We also have a C# script, a PNG image, a JPG image, and a couple of zip files in there as well. So it's basically ignoring anything that's not a video file, and it's only loading the files that are video. Okay, and right now we're on the last video file here. Once this one finishes playing, it will go back to the first one and then repeat the playlist again. Okay. So we're going to be making this project in Visual Studio. So let's just go and create a new project. Okay, so here, create a new project. We'll choose Windows Form App.NET Framework, click Next, and then we'll name this project folder media player OICT. Okay, and click Create. Okay, so this is the empty project. Let's just go and change the title of the form here to folder media player app OICT. Okay, and then right after that, we can go ahead and add a menu strip. So the menu strip is right here, so just drag and drop it in there. So when you drag and drop a menu strip, you're able to type in the menus that you want. So it's going to look something similar to the ones that you can see on top of Visual Studio there. Okay, so I can even create one that says file, let's say for example, and then inside of file, I can have one that says load folder, and then another one that just says about. So instead of creating 2, you can just have one, and then it will just give you those options. Okay, and we also need to link the events for this as well. So we're going to go here and say click on load folder there. If you go to properties, okay, that's the load folder button there. If I go to events and then you say load folder event, that would be nice. There you go. All right, press enter, and then it will add the event inside the C# script. Let's do the same for the about. Go to properties, events, click show about event. Okay, and then those are the 2 now done. Okay, we also need to add the media player. So if you don't have the media player in your toolbox, then what you can do is you can right click on the toolbox and say choose items. When you go to choose items, you can go to components in Visual Studio, scroll all the way down to W, and then you can see the Windows Media Player DLL and the component there. So just tick that and then click OK, and that will add the Windows Media Player option for you here. So if I can just drag and drop that here. Okay, we just need to make it bigger. It's going to be the main part of the app, so I can make the Poly app slightly bigger as well. Okay, like so. So we have got more space to see the video. Okay, so that's the video player there. now we need to set the video player up in the properties. So if you click on the video player, go to the properties, and then in the name, type in video player, like so, press enter, so that registers that. And we also need to add an event to the video player. So the video player, they have an event called play state change, right? So each time a media is loaded, then paused, stopped, playing, reach the end, and so on, we can check these kind of conditions inside the play state change event. Okay, so just type that in here and say media player state change event. Press enter. So that is the media player state change event. And then we need a list box. So let's drag into the list box here, make it slightly larger, and then we'll drag it all the way down here. Okay, so in the list box, we're going to have, let's name this one to playlist. And then we're also going to change the direction of the text from instead of left to right, right to left. Okay, because it's going to load up, this is going to be the part where all the file locations are shown. So one by one, all the file where they are saved is going to be shown. So what we want to do is we want to see the end of the file. So otherwise you'll see probably just the beginning part of the location. So if you see the end part, so just in case you want to go back to the folder and delete something or add something or rename something even, you'll know exactly which file to be working with. Okay, and then we also need to go to the events window here and change the selected index change to playlist changed. Okay, so now the playlist changed event will be linked here as well. Okay, now we need a couple of labels. So we're going to add a label here. This is for the file name. Okay, so we're going to call this one file name, like so. Change the text in here to file name. We also need another one, so I'm just going to copy and paste that to over this side. So this is going to be the duration. So I just call it LBL duration on this one. Okay, and then we change that to duration 0 because it's just the default value of it. Okay, and one last thing that we need for this app to work is a timer. So I'm just going to drag and drop a timer here. Okay, we can keep it at timer 1. That's perfectly fine. Interval at 100 is fine as well. I'm just going to go to the events and just say timer event. Okay, so this timer is currently not enabled because it's enabled is set to false. So it's not going to run when the app loads. What we want to do is when the media player is ready, we want to start the timer so it plays the media and then stops as well. So that way we can avoid some exception breaking code in the program. Okay, so with this done, we need a couple of custom functions to make the project work. Private void load playlist. So that's gonna load the playlist private void play file. So any specific file that we need to play will be set here, and then we'll set a string as an argument. Then we also need a private void show file name. Okay, and this one will have a label as an argument for a name. Okay, so these are the functions that we need to make this app work. So now let's go ahead and add the namespace. So the namespace that we need is the system.io. So because we are reading external files, so we need to import the IO namespace in order to actually get the path, the directory, and so on from inside of the namespace. So we're going to say using system.io. Okay, so to add the variables for this project, so if I go down here, now just before the public form1 constructor, I'm going to create the variables for this project here. So the variables that we need is a list of string called filtered files. So any file that is a video file, we're going to store it inside of this list. That's the browsing folder browser that we need. So you know the little folder browser dialog that showed up, we have to use this in order to show that. And then we also are calculating which file is currently playing. So current file is going to be set to 0. After that, let's get started on the load folder event. So this event here is linked to this button, the load folder button here. So what we can do here is we can just go and make some space. Right, so the first part here is going to be about stopping anything that's playing on the media player. Right after that, we're going to check if there's files already exist inside of the list. If so, we're going to clear everything, right, and delete everything from inside of it, because we want to load up the new information from a new folder inside of it. And then lastly, we are going to reset that current file back to 0. Okay, so for the next bit, we need to check for the dialog box. So I'll just show you how this one is done. So for this part, first the dialog box is going to be shown to the user. Once the user has selected a folder and clicked OK, everything inside of this if statement will be actioned. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to look through the filtered files list that we created earlier. So inside of this list, we're going to go through the directory and we're going to get the files. So we get all of the files from the folder, whichever folder that is loaded. And then what we'll do is we'll check with where each file extension, right? So if the file ends with a WEBM, ends with the MP4, ends with the WMV, ends with the MKV, or if it ends with the AVI, then all of these will be added to the list. So it will be added to the filtered list. So if you look at the way that this one is working, so first of all, we're checking for the directory, and then inside the where one, the small bracket goes all the way from here to here. Okay, and inside of there we also have a or sign here, so the double pipe sign, so the ones that we use in the if statements. So in this case, what we're checking is that we're going to check for this file, or if this file is not available, then this one, or this one, or this one. So any one of these that are found will be added to the playlist. So straight after, once this loop is done for the list, then straight after that we will add we will run the load playlist function. So now let's do the show about event. Okay, so I'm just going to show you. So this one here is basically just going to have a little message box that says this app is made by MooICT, and then environment dot new line. This one here is what creates a new paragraph line for us. So this line will appear above of this one, and then this one will appear above of this one, and so on. Okay, and right after the comma, you have got the moo says. So inside the quotation marks here, that's the title of the message box right here. Okay, if you notice that I have got these blue arrows that are showing up here, so these ones, the blue arrows basically mean that I have got word wrap enabled. So in Visual Studio, you're able to enable word wraps so the text doesn't leave the screen. If I disable that for now, you'll see the lines become really long. So this is all one line. Okay, so for readability, I enabled that. So you don't have to enable it if you don't need to use it. But for this tutorial, I just had it enabled, so it's easier for you to see the code on the screen. Okay, so now with the about event done, we shall go into the load playlist. Okay. First, in the load playlist, we're going to create a new playlist for the media player, so it has got a playlist active when it's playing. Okay. Right after that, we need a for each loop. So this loop here is basically going to create a look for a string file called videos inside the filtered file. So any file that is already available inside of the filtered file list, it will add that file to the current playlist that we created here. So right now we created a playlist, right? And then it's going through the current playlist, append item, and then inside the brackets, it's saying video player, new media, videos, and then it's closing that bracket and then closing the main bracket over here. Okay, what we're also going to do is we're also adding the playlist, adding the video to the playlist list box on the app. Okay, so with the for each loop, it will loop through every available item inside the filtered files. And this is why it's important to always clear the filtered files when you are opening a new folder. Otherwise, it will simply just add on top of the existing items there. And then after the for each loop, we have got we have got an if statement and an else statement. So in this one, what we're checking is if the filtered count is greater than 0, which means there are entries inside of the list, then we will show how many files are available in the file name label that we have on the screen. And then right after that, we're going to set the playlist selected index to current file, which is going to be 0, because if this is the first time they loads, current file is always set to 0. And then after that, we will set the send the location of that file that's selected to the play file function. So that play file function is going to basically load it into the media player. Okay, and if none of the files are found, so if if no video file is found, then it's just going to say this folder doesn't contain any video files. Okay, so let's just take a look at how this one works. So let's run the program now. Okay, so if you notice that the program runs just fine. If I go to File, say Load Folder, and then I can go to the Videos folder here where I know there are video files inside of it. If I click OK, it loads up only the video files onto the list. Okay, as you can see, you got 4 video files there. But if I load another folder here that doesn't have any files inside of it, the code one, click OK, it will give me a message to say no video files in this folder. Okay, so now to do the play file function, this one's going to be very easy. Basically, we're just going to load in the URL and link it to the URL of the media player. So the video player.url is equals to the URL that's been passed through. So any URL that is passed through from the list here will be linked to the video player so it can be played. And the show file name function is only going to serve a purpose of just getting the file name instead of the file location and the file name. So we're going to use the path get file name function from the system.io. So if I place that here, so I'm creating a new string called file, and then this string is going to contain path.get file name, and then it's just going to go through the playlist selected item to string. So what this is going to do is just going to get the last just the file name of it instead of the file location, and then it's just going to say here currently playing this file. Okay, so now let's do the timer event. The timer event is basically just going to play the media player and then stop the timer. So it's going to say video player dot CTL controls and then play and then timer 1 dot stop. So whenever the timer starts, it's just going to make sure the video the media player is playing, and then it will stop the timer until it's called on for the next time. So let's do the playlist changed event here. So inside of this event, we're just going to have 3 instructions. So the current file, the number of the current file is going to be equals to the selected index of the currently playing file on the playlist box. And then after that, it's still going to send that playlist, the active file on the playlist, to the play file function to be played. And then show file name function is going to be run with the file name label from the screen. So that way, when the file name function is running, it will show the actual file name, whichever one that is playing here, it will show it onto the label. I want to do this event last because on Microsoft's documentation website, there are some really useful information about the media player state change. So if I look at this one here for now, so as you can see, it actually explains about how the states change and what kind of cases are we looking for. On the official documentation, they used a switch statement to check for new states and so on. But for this one's purpose, we're just going to be using a if statement with else if. So let's do the first state here. So this is going to be the state 0, which is the undefined one. So if new state is equals 0, which means that if it's just loaded for now. So at the moment the media player is ready to be loaded basically, right? And then when we go to the second one, we'll do state 1. So in the state 1, media player, it has currently stopped, so it has loaded but it's stopped. Now we can skip to state 3. So this one here is going to check if the media player is playing. So if the media player is playing something, we want to show the duration of it on the LBL duration text. So instead of it saying media player stopped, loaded, or stopped, it's just going to show the duration of the video file. So inside the text we say duration colon space, then close the double quotation plus video player dot current media dot duration string. So that returns a string value for us that can be displayed onto a label. New state 8. So new state 8 basically means the media has stopped. So media has ended. So we reached the end of that certain video clip. So what to do then? So if the media has ended, then what we are doing here is we're doing a if and else statement to check if the current file, the file that we're playing, is greater than the total files that's available in the list, right? If it is, so if it is greater or equals to, then we're going to change the current file to 0, right? Because we want the media player to go back to the first one on the playlist. If the current file is still within the limitations or within the range of the filtered file, then we're just going to add 1 to the current file integer. So this way we are able to use this integer to change the selected index of the playlist box on the Windows Form application. Okay, and then right after that, we're just going to run the show file name with the file name label in it, so it actually updates which file is playing as it's playing it. So, and then right after that, we're going to go with new state 9. So in this one, the media is loading a new file. So if it's loading another file, so if it's gone to, for example, if it's gone there, and obviously it's going to load a new file because we told it to do so with the current file. It's just going to show another text on the LBL duration label to say loading a new video. And for the last one is when it's all loaded and it's ready to play, in new state equals 10. If the media is now ready to play, we're just going to start the timer. So if the timer starts, as we did before, basically all it does is it makes sure the media is being played on the media player, and then it stops the timer. Okay, because we can't really do, it causes an error, like quite a few of them, if you try to do the video player play thing inside of this if statement, because this one here is for the state change, so we have to link it to another event, and then from that event play the media player through there. Okay, so with that being done, I think we can actually try to run this one now. Okay, so right now we have got your file name and everything. All right, file, load folder. Okay, let's load the videos. Click OK, and then as you can see, it loads up the first video and starts playing it. Now we're on the second video. Now we're in the third. Now we're in the fourth video. Audio is playing as well. Now once it finishes, it goes back to the first one. Okay. I'm actually quite happy with the end result of this project. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you on the next one.